1 month. That's it. In just 30 days, this coordinated attack on Iran has completely redrawn the geopolitical map. It's created a crisis that has, well, put the entire world on edge. So let's break down what happened and what it really means for all of us. Right off the bat, the most immediate and honestly devastating economic consequence of this conflict is the complete blockage of the Strait of Hormuz. You have to understand, this is one of the world's most critical arteries for global trade. Shutting it down has sent massive shockwaves through the global economy, directly hitting supply chains and energy markets everywhere. And here's what that looks like in real numbers. A 35% surge in global energy prices. Now, a spike that big, that fast, it affects everything. We're talking about the gas in your car, the cost of food at the grocery store. It's a direct economic hit from a conflict that started just weeks ago. But that's the real question, isn't it? How on earth did we get here? Because just 1 month ago, the entire narrative was about hope, about potential diplomatic breakthroughs. To really get what's happening now, we have to look back at those final moments right before everything just fell apart. Okay, so let's rewind the clock just over a month. Let's go back to a time when dialogue, not destruction, actually seemed like the path forward. The contrast between then and now is, well, it's pretty startling. Just look at the dates here. The speed of this collapse is just staggering. On February 27th, you've got American and Iranian delegations meeting in Geneva. Oman is mediating. The atmosphere is actually described as positive, and they're even planning more meetings. Less than 24 hours later, Operation Epic Fury begins. Just like that, the talks were over and the war began. So now, let's get into the promises made at the start of this war versus the reality we're seeing 1 month in. You know, every military operation kicks off with a clear set of goals. But how do those initial justifications actually stack up against what's happening on the ground? And this, right here, just shows you how big that disconnect is. The stated goals were incredibly ambitious: topple the regime, shut down its nuclear program, and stop missile production. The reality? 30 days in, none of those objectives have been met. Yes, the supreme leader was killed in an early strike, but the regime itself has not fallen. And the biggest irony? The world is now fighting to open the Strait of Hormuz, a waterway that was perfectly open before this whole thing started. This is how a lot of analyses are describing this conflict: a war of choice. According to multiple reports, including from Western intelligence agencies, there was no imminent threat, no proof that Tehran was about to get a nuclear weapon, and no evidence their missiles could even reach North America. But beyond all the strategic failures and the geopolitical mess, there's a devastating and immediate price being paid. And it's a cost that you can't measure in dollars or barrels of oil. It's measured in human lives. 168. Just let that number sink in for a second. It represents one of the earliest and most horrific events of this war. Because that number isn't just a statistic. It represents 168 people, mostly children, who were killed in a single attack on the Shajara Tayyebe primary school in Minab. And what's really gut-wrenching here is that, according to reports, U.S. investigators believe their own forces were responsible for this horrific strike. And tragically, that school attack, it wasn't an isolated incident. In just 1 month, 600 schools and educational facilities across Iran have been hit. The death toll for students and teachers has climbed past 230. I mean, the scale of destruction has been so severe that the United Nations is now investigating these attacks as a possible war crime. And all of this brings us back to where we are today: a volatile, uncertain situation with no clear end in sight. The initial reasons for the war have basically crumbled, and they've been replaced by a much grimmer reality. This right here is the ultimate paradox of the last 30 days, isn't it? An operation that was supposedly launched to neutralize a threat and bring stability has done the exact opposite. The region is more inflamed, the global economy is in turmoil, and you could argue the world is in a much more dangerous position than it was just 1 month ago. So that leaves us with the critical, unanswered question. With the original objectives nowhere in sight, with the human and economic costs soaring every single day, and with diplomacy basically in ashes, the path forward is completely unknown. What does a second month of this war even look like? And what's the final price going to be?